Hi, it's Hectique. A lot of people ask me for advice on teleporter play a lot of the time, and I figured instead of just randomly giving pointers on stream all the time, I would take a stab at doing a little unedited quote-unquote tutorial, which is not really a tutorial as much as it is just explaining how teleporter runs work, what your expectations should be, what you can do to increase your chances, and what you can't do to increase your chances. So my plan is just, I'm gonna go through each area and discuss what you should expect to do or attempt to do to have the best odds at succeeding in a teleporter run. Point out a variety of sub-rooms and tricks that you can pull off, and when it's appropriate to do stuff like that. So, this is not gonna be edited, just as a heads up. I'm just gonna do this live, raw, which means that there is a really good chance that I'm going to die randomly a lot. That's okay. That's how teleporter runs work. It would be disingenuous to not show you deaths, because deaths happen a lot in teleporter runs. It's normal. So when it comes to the dwelling, this is generally the hardest area you're going to experience on a teleporter run. Dwelling is absolutely vile. It is really, really difficult. The big reason why dwelling is hard for teleporter runs is that there isn't really any consistent method to dealing with the dwelling, and the dwelling itself has a lot of qualities that are not advantageous to the teleporter. The biggest and most obvious of those qualities is the presence of arrow traps. As a person who has done just so many teleporter runs, arrow traps are a huge issue. And I can't really teach you any way to guarantee to avoid these things from ending your runs. Sometimes you're gonna encounter a situation like this one here, where there is an arrow trap in a really bad position, right? If I was to teleport down here, like I usually do, there would be a 1 in 5 or 2 in 5 chance, depending upon my jump momentum, of getting hit by that arrow trap. The only way I can guarantee that I won't is to fly up and then teleport down, so that my offset is better and more favorable. But that's also slower, obviously, and is only available to you when you have a jetpack. Or I guess in this case there's a ladder, but like, I mean, you're not gonna have a ladder all the time. So in general, my advice to people when dealing with the dwelling as an area with the teleporter is probably just to slow down. If there's one place that I think it's advantageous to slow down, it's the dwelling, because first of all, you don't need to get a 130 to get a successful teleporter run, and second of all, the more often you get out of the dwelling, the more you get to practice the other areas. So that's a pretty big part of it. I'm gonna restart, and we're gonna do it again. I am gonna be doing teleports rather slowly so that you can kind of keep up with what I'm doing vaguely. And also just so I die slightly less often. Big thing about dwelling is that there's a lot of sub-rooms where you can have dangerous teleports, but if you know what you're doing, they won't be dangerous, right? Things like this entrance, you can just go down immediately, and because you can see from here that there's this open ceiling with a bit of a ladder, you know that it's a straight down path. And then from here, you just want to come over and do that. Don't be afraid to walk, right? It's easy to just be like, I have a teleporter. The only way I should move is by teleporting. But in this situation, teleporting can put you here, which is pretty bad. And then you have an arrow trap above your head. So if you went autopilot and said, okay, jump, then teleport down, congrats, you've taken 2 damage and go through a full stun timer for no reason, right? So especially in dwelling, don't be afraid to just move normally, because it can save you a lot of trouble, which is pretty neat. So that was a risky teleport. I could have just gotten hit by that arrow trap, but at my level, I do kind of have to take risks like that, so it's not that unnatural for me to do stuff like that. So one sort of specificity about dwelling is that this teleport is not safe. It may look like it's safe, but there is a 1 in 5 possibility of you dying to this teleport. And it's not all that uncommon for this orientation to spawn. So when you do encounter that sort of spawn, try to avoid teleporting down right away. It is a risk. There's nothing you can do to make that teleport safe. It's just kind of how it goes. Another thing that I would recommend if you're especially a big beginner to teleporter runs is if you can just fall down like that with your jetpack or hover pack or whatever, do it. There's no real reason for you to teleport down through nothing when you're starting out, because it's not that much faster than just dropping down yourself. And if there's an arrow trap, it'll be a lot easier to react to just dropping normally rather than teleporting directly into it, right? I think we've done a fair bit of dwelling here, so I'm also going to show you now how to do quillback effectively. It's very simple. You're just doing a preset directed teleport, so you know vaguely what you're going to do each time. So in any percent, we tend to go Volcana at the higher levels. You can go jungle. I don't recommend it. It's not actually that good of a place to go. It's not much better than Volcana, and Volcana tends to be much faster. When you do this downward teleport, you may occasionally break a bottom skull tile and take damage, so be careful of that. The way to avoid this is to instead do a teleport from higher up, which can offset a bit better, so you won't teleport all the way down into the skulls. And then keep in mind that this subroom frequently spawns spikes. So if you're going to then teleport through this quickly, make sure you are feathering your jetpack so you're above it, or wait to land on the ground so that you won't be in the air when you teleport through the spikes. After that, you can one frame downward teleport here safely because it's 4 tiles. But if you are nervous about that, I would just align yourself with this skull tile, because even if you do a bad downward teleport off of it, you'll still be safe because you teleport into skull tiles rather than dying to them. So here's an example. I'm in here now instead of just having died. Same right there. Although you really don't want to teleport into a column of skull tiles because that's fairly unsafe. Now, you do also have the option to play quillback extra fast and go from here and just triple teleport. Keep in mind, with this layout, that is a 1 in 5. With certain layouts with the push block, you can have a 2 in 5 to die. So I really don't recommend spamming teleport in quillback unless you already have a decent PB and want to save some extra time. So I'm going to do a few more trips through the dwelling, just to hopefully show off some more examples of decision making. That was a 1 in 5. I just went the wrong way. Sometimes it happens. Also keep in mind, I'm not aggroing shopkeepers right now. When it comes to dealing with shopkeepers with the teleporter, there's a lot of luck involved, but the best thing I can suggest is doing vertical offset, like I've been doing in some circumstances. By keeping yourself higher in the air, you are less likely to teleport directly on the ground when teleporting down to a shopkeeper. And you really want to be in the air when you're facing off with a shopkeeper, because they have such an advantage when they're level with you by just spraying shotgun bullets everywhere. So if you're struggling to evade the shopkeepers at the exits, my recommendation is just to do what I mentioned, which is do a vertical offset of sorts. So instead of teleporting like this, where I'm now immediately really low to the ground, sometimes directly on it, flying up and doing that. Because now you're up in the air, the shopkeeper can't get you right away, and you have the chance to react to what he does. Worst case scenario, you'll step on his head, and then you just have to deal with a few more shopkeepers, so. Okay, so that's dwelling. I can't really give too much more information other than just practice, learn your subrooms, figure out what teleports are good to do, what teleports aren't so good to do, and if you need to slow down, slow down. There's nothing wrong with slowing down in the dwelling. It's the hardest area. It's going to kill you the most. That's normal. You're not bad at the game. I'm gonna reset just so that I can get the automatic Volcana spawns so that it's easier to go through all the details. So we're gonna go to 2-1. So Volcana is probably one of the more interesting areas. I'm gonna not take a voice echo start, actually. Thank you very much. So when it comes to Volcana, there is a piece of advice that I always give people, which is that the edges are the best place to be at any point in time in Volcana. And there's a reasoning for this. When you think about how Volcana generates, one of the biggest and scariest ideas is teleporting into lava. However, with the way that Spelunky generates subrooms, lava needs to be encased, otherwise it's immediately going to flow everywhere. And so the solution to that Derek and Blitworks went with is that almost every single lava subroom will have tiles at its edges. That way, when you're on the edges, you won't immediately teleport into lava. It's not going to go everywhere. You can kind of predict what's going on. Now, I need to put a caveat on this edge teleport idea, because on 2-1, edge teleporting is slightly less safe than on other levels, and there's a reason for that. The reasoning behind edge teleporting being unsafe on 2-1 compared to other levels is this. The hired help spawns here, your Van Horsing key spawns here, and Van Horsing himself spawns here. Now, why is that an issue, right? The issue behind that is that each of these subrooms at the edges generates a 4-tile chunk of terrain. So in the case of the hired help, we have 1 tile here for the flat land on the idol, and then 4 tiles here for the hired help chunk. So if I was to teleport there, I have a 1 in 5 chance of dying. And that's repeated over here with the Van Horsing key room. There are 3 tiles in this subroom usually. However, there are 4 tiles added underneath it at the edge due to the key subroom. So, while I do still recommend teleporting at your edges because it is still a really good idea, 2-1 is a level that you need to be cautious of. Sometimes if you teleport at your edges, you're gonna have a teleport like this where you just get killed, right? Because the key room was there, you didn't realize it in time, and now you're dead. So always stick to your edges, but on 2-1, be a little bit careful. So you can kind of see Volcana, okay, well, besides the Rock Dog, Volcana's not that bad for teleporter play. It's a little bit frustrating because there can be scenarios where you just get owned for no reason, right? Like, if I was to teleport into a robot at any point in time, guess what? I'm dead. I'm dead as hell, dude. That's kind of just a risk that you take when doing teleporter runs quickly. The solution to not telefragging robots is the same as dealing with shopkeepers and other things. Offset your teleport. If you don't teleport to the ground, you're not going to telefrag a robot. Robots don't fly, they are on the ground, so an offset keeps you safe. That's why a jetpack is really good for these runs. Hoverpack is viable, but jetpack gives you the opportunity to decide how high you're going to be in the air. That's also, I haven't mentioned it until now, but that's really relevant for no gold, because no gold is the exact same thing, right? Gold doesn't fly except for when an explosion happens. So if you offset your teleport and you're not on the ground, you're not going to teleport into gold. So generally the remainder of Volcana is pretty simple. It's just stick to your edges. Keep in mind that things like imps are a pretty serious threat. If you teleport under an imp, as silly as it sounds, the best thing you can do is just teleport again, right? Because if you stand still, the impot's gonna drop on you and you're gonna die. Like, you have a guaranteed death if you stand still. But if you teleport right away in response to an imp, you at least have a chance of surviving it, so. Also, one thing I should point out, certain subrooms at the spawn of Volcana are deceptive. Let me see if I can find a good example. I think I had one right at the start, but now I can't get one now that I'm trying to show it off specifically. I swear it exists. I promise I'm not lying to you. Okay, here it is. So, this lava subroom in Volcana is deceptive. So if you were to look at this off the cuff, you would probably think that this is an edge and that this is an edge. But this is bait. This is your actual edge here. You can see it exemplified down there. That's the key subroom. You can see where the edge is from the sort of rectangular box that it spawns. So when you get this entry lava subroom, you need to be really careful. I die to this constantly. It still gets me to this day. This is not actually the edge. This right here is. So just be careful. It's one of those little situations where it's easy to get baited. I also just showed off why you don't want to edge teleport as often in 2-1, because sometimes you do it dumb and then you die. But yeah, Volcana is a pretty simple area for teleporter play. Stick to your edges, be a little cautious, don't do that. That was not smart. Sometimes you die. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You're not a moron for dying on a teleporter run. We all do. Oh, also worth keeping in mind that your moon challenge is in the Volcana area. So at some point you're going to have to contest with that potentially. If it shows up, it's not too hard to teleport in and out of the challenge rooms. There's usually a 3-tile space to go through. There are several 4-tile spaces to go through if you're confident in your 1-frame downward teleports. So it's not too bad. Also, this is one of those situations where you can identify that this is probably the key room because you can see that steel chain block at the bottom left right away. So I usually will teleport like this because I know that it's safe. That's a good way of dealing with it. Yeah, that was unlucky. Unlucky, but also not very uncommon. They like shoving the hired help like right at the exit sometimes. It's a bummer. Also, you're not gonna get dark levels on teleporter runs, I pray, because it's just not really super realistic. This is a situation where I could recommend doing really aggressive double teleporting. This is a big subroom below me. You can tell because of the way that the elevator or escalators are on the left. You know that it's a big open area beneath. And big subrooms are going to be a big part of Tide Pool and Neo Babylon teleporter play. Because a lot of the big subrooms in those areas are super safe and arguably better to double teleport through. Okay, so this room is a good one. One thing to keep in mind about edge teleporting is that although I have explained that at the edges there are tiles, there is an exception to this rule, and that is the 2-wide lava subroom down here. As you can see, I did a teleport here where I landed in this chunk, and if I had teleported far enough, I would have gone straight into lava. That happens sometimes. I'm gonna be honest, that is a risk that I think is most advisable to just take. I don't think it's a good idea to try and outplay the game in these circumstances sometimes, and this is one of those times. It's worth noting, however, that if you are teleporting on the very edge of the level, even this subroom can't kill you, because this subroom lava can never generate on the leftmost or rightmost column of a Volcana level. The only way it could get there is if it got there by some unnatural means, like an explosion or an idle trap being picked up. So if you want to be extra super ultra safe, you can also go to these edges and you're usually going to be pretty safe. Unlucky. Okay, I want to get one more clear of Volcana, and then I'm going to move on to Olmec, which is not very hard. Not very hard at all, actually. Okay, so Olmec is a preset level. It is very simple. I'm going to show you the best strategy to do, which is to run forward, throw a bomb, wait for it to explode, and then you have a 4-tile teleport here. So if you do a 1-frame downward teleport, it is 100% safe. If you have a jetpack after doing that teleport, just hover. If you don't, just double tap. Not like that though. Double tap vertically. It's better. Because if you double tap vertically, you're super unlikely to die, and you're not going to take any fall damage. And then when you get over here, this push block can kill you. Do not teleport into the push block. Move forward, then teleport past it. As far as alternate strategies for Olmec, if you don't want to do a 1-frame downward teleport or anything like that, what you can do instead, and I'm going to just reset so I can show it off from default, is use 2 bombs. And do it like this. This is also a pretty common strategy for categories that require you to grab the Ankh, because it also opens Waddler. And from Waddler, you can get the Ankh for free. It's really fast. And then from here, you can double teleport down. Sometimes you'll land here, sometimes you'll go straight to the ladder. So that's an alternate strategy. And then there are also some meme strats. If you want to, you can just do that. I would probably recommend going here at least, because you get 1 extra tile of clearance. But you can also make this teleport, I think, 2/5 of the time? Yeah, 2/5. But this is better, obviously, because that gives you a 3/5 chance of survival. But you still have a 2/5 chance of dying, so, you know. In general, just don't do that. It's really not worth it. I can't stress enough how immensely not worth it is to do that. But it is an option. If you're on a really slow run and you just don't care, you can do that. Feel free. Why not? So next up is Tide Pool. We go to Tide Pool on any percent runs because it's not Temple. So 4-1 is usually a pretty interesting level, and you can probably already see why. Tusk is here. The Madam herself. Tusk is a point of interest for any percent runs. If you kill Tusk, your 6-3 level is smaller. And that's because the Palace of Pleasure doesn't spawn if Tusk is dead. So, when it comes to telefragging Tusk, you need to keep in mind that there are safe teleports and unsafe teleports. You don't want to teleport in the center here, because if you overshoot, you're getting hit by this laser. It can literally knock you this way and then put the teleporter in the dice shop. And I'm gonna be honest, if you're gambling on an any percent run, it's probably not going very well. So always remember to telefrag Tusk either here or here. And then it's usually a pretty safe teleport out like that. I'm going to point out that killing Tusk really doesn't matter that much on any percent. I'm showing you how to do it because it's good when you can. I would not go out of your way to kill Tusk. I personally only kill Tusk if it's basically free, at least on any percent. Other categories, it's more relevant, but in any percent, it just does not matter that much. So, we mentioned that 4-1 has Tusk. 4-2 is an interesting level for a different reason. And that's because you're going to have the Stars Challenge 100% of the time. It's never going to not spawn. This can be a little bit disruptive. If you're not careful, it's pretty easy to have level gen where you teleport down and now you have, actually this is a perfect example. Now you have the Stars Challenge on your left and the vault below you and you're just like trapped. So it's important to be extra cautious on 4-2 about where you're pathing because it's stupidly easy to get stuck. Now, another note about 4-2, and this extends to 4-3, is how the layout of the level actually works. So we're gonna zoom out here. We're gonna zoom out here even further. So in 4-2, the level is, in a sense, shrunken. You have your standard 3 layers at the top, but your 4th layer is the place above the, lake with hump head in it, right? And a thing to note about this area is that it's so open. It is so hard to telefrag yourself in this area. And so because of that, when you see me do teleporter runs, when I'm in my 2nd layer, teleporting to the 3rd, I usually just teleport again right away. Because it's so unlikely for me to telefrag myself under any circumstance in the standard lake level that it just doesn't really make much sense to pause and then check my level and make sure that everything's okay, right? It just is better in those situations to teleport down twice, in my opinion. If you want to be careful, feel free. There's no shame in deciding to play cautiously. Play exactly how you want to. I'm just gonna tell you that double teleporting there is not that risky. You can get away with it quite often. And like I said, that applies to 4-3 as well. It's the lava lake, but the lava's at the bottom, right? So you're not exactly gonna teleport into it unless you're really low down. So for both levels, I recommend just double teleporting on your way out. Don't telefrag ton. Don't do that. Doesn't really help. I mean, it doesn't matter, but like, you don't need to do that. It doesn't exactly help you. So just, you know, avoid it if you can. And then beyond that, I would like to see, oh, I did the thing where overlinky offsets the items. I would like to see if I can get a big subroom here because it's a little important. Okay, so here is an example of one of the big subrooms in Tide Pool. So this subroom is very important to understand the layout of. By default, this subroom does not generate any 4 tile gaps except for adjacent to the pole, which you can see 3 right here. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't generate any 4 tile gaps elsewhere. Wherever you see a tiki trap, this is a 4 tile segment. So this is 4 tiles, and then up here, this is 4 tiles. However, besides tiki traps, the rest of the entire subroom is only 3 tiles, and it is always only 3 tiles as far as I understand. So in a situation like this, that's safe for the most part, unless you get a tiki trap, and even then, it's only a 1 in 5 teleport to kill you, right? Like, that's pretty uncommon. Again, if you want to play it safe, you don't have to double teleport. There's no reason to force yourself to do things that you don't personally want to do. But in a subroom like that you know is there, and you know rarely spawns 4 tile chunks, why not double teleport, right? You have the opportunity to take advantage of that situation and save just a fraction of time that you would have spent checking the level. All right, that was unlucky. Sometimes you just roll max distance teleports and die. It just happens. This is a voice echoes level? Okay, sure, why not? Live a little. This is another subroom where it's pretty common to double teleport through. The spike subroom is intimidating. Make sure not to fall onto the spikes. However, it hardly generates any 4 tile chunks, so don't be afraid to teleport through it fairly quickly. Okay, I think that's about as much as I'm gonna say about Tide Pool. Now we're gonna move on to the ice caves. The ice caves they're dumb. They're really silly for teleporter runs. In general, if you are watching this video, I assume that you are not an experienced teleporter player, and I'm gonna be honest, if you aren't experienced with the teleporter, I don't recommend using it in the ice caves outside of circumstances where you get stuck. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, teleporting down is not that much faster than just falling. I think there's no greater evidence to that than the low percent and any percent ice caves records. They're only 1.5 seconds apart because the low percent record just falls the whole way through the level, and the any percent record just teleports the whole way through. So you can teleport in ice caves. The reason why I don't recommend it is this. If you telefrag a UFO, you will immediately die. That also applies to mechs. You can telefrag a mech, it will blow up, you will be dead. There are also certain subrooms that can kill you in the ice caves, like this right here. If I did this teleport, I always die. There is no universe in which I survive that teleport, although I would never teleport that far to the side anyway. So if you get stuck somewhere, like if you went over here and there was no tiles, right, you could just teleport through. Don't teleport into a vault, that would be a bad idea. But the alternative is YOLO porting. Because Ice Caves generally doesn't generate too many 4-tile chunks, you can just YOLO port. It's an option. You shouldn't get killed by it too often. You might drop your teleporter a lot, though. It does happen, though, especially to the vault and to, like, the Moai statue, which is why I would recommend, if you do YOLO port, to make sure you don't do it in this chunk of the subroom, because that's where the altar is, and the altar is a place where you could potentially die. Not nice. Yeah, don't be an idiot like me who keeps forgetting to feather your jetpack. Not a good idea. There is one last detail about teleporter play in the Ice Caves, which is more of just a fun little Easter egg than anything else, which I just so happened to get right as I started bringing it up, which is pretty convenient. This is what's referred to as Vault Skip or Vault Child. If you get a vault that spawns in certain locations, most commonly under the Moai, you have an opportunity to pull off a trick that allows you to get Eggplant Child without the eggplant. If you bomb right here and then teleport in, it's 100% safe. Don't fly up and teleport. That's unsafe. But this teleport here, 100% safe. Downward is also safe. And then you can get your Eggplant Child. And if you go to the end of the level now, you'll be there ready to come along with you on a journey to freaking Sunken City. So that's the thing you can do if you don't like actually doing eggplant runs. All right, so that's pretty much it for Ice Caves. Can't give you too much more. It's a bit of a goofy area for teleporter play. However, we can now move on to Neo Babylon. Oh boy, Neo Bab. Neo freaking Babylon. This area is an awkward one. Generally, there are a lot of threats in Neo Bab that have the potential to kill you. However, all of those threats have a pretty low chance of killing you. So generally, high-level Neobab teleporter play is taking a bunch of calculated risks. It's kind of, there's just no way around it, really. You have to risk getting hit by a spark ball. It'll happen sometimes. That sucks. I'm so sorry. If it happens to you, absolute tragedy, totally understood. Not a big deal. One thing I also will mention, the rule of sticking to the edges is also valid in Neobab because there are lava subrooms. So if you are teleporting in your center, you may risk teleporting directly into lava. Why are there two elevators? Stop that. It's such a bad level. Oh God, the freaking Overlunky offset thing, it gets me so often. Stop putting things in the ground. Why would I want that? Okay. So yeah, you can kind of see that there are teleports that just have a chance of killing me from a spark ball cycle if I get super unlucky. But keep in mind, if a spark ball is in your path, it's not very likely for it to be in the exact spot that would kill you. The chances of that happening are just generally really low. So you don't really need to fear them too much. But if you are new to teleporter play, once again, I'm gonna say it a million times, there is no shame in playing slower to make sure that you finish out a run. Go ahead. You should speedrun at a level that is comfortable for you. I'm just here to tell you the strat, says it. As far as Neobab goes more generally, something you're probably noticing is that I don't really move that much when I'm teleporting down in Neobab. That's because it's really uncommon for Neobab to generate subrooms that actually could kill you, right? This subroom can't kill me. Even the exits themselves, they generate 4 tile chunks, but they don't generate 5 tile chunks very often. So as long as you can consistently 1 frame downward teleport, you're pretty much fine in Neobab. It's really rare for it to generate a subroom that actually has a shot of killing you. From telefrags, that is. Obviously it kills you in plenty of other ways, but telefragging in Neobab is fairly uncommon. So I'm gonna do a little bit more. I also want to talk about the big rooms in Neobab because they are particular. And I think it's really important to give those their own little spotlight. Just because understanding how they work is so essential to good teleporter runs. I do need to get them though. That's a part of it. Okay, so here's an example of a big room that matters. All big rooms have this general theme of some enclosed area of a laser, right? There's a laser on the right enclosing a big area that has cavemen inside of it. This subroom gets to people a lot when I watch teleporter runs, and I understand why, right? It's very intimidating to be in this place. However, if you're paying close attention right now, you've probably noticed that this is an only 3 tile gap, right? Which means that if you teleport down through this area, you're not gonna telefrag yourself. And also, the elevators are always gonna spawn in a certain position. So, given those 2 pieces of information, I know with certainty that if I was to teleport here, I can teleport down safely. And if I was to teleport on this side, I can teleport down safely and then just have to react to an elevator, right? That's it. That big room is a really scary place to be, but it just isn't gonna kill you. It really is not. You can get away with so many aggressive teleports in that big room, and then you're just out, you're done. Big room over with, right? And that's true of basically every Neobab big room like that. You can just go through them aggressively if you know where the lineups are. I'm gonna need that. Nope, not that. Nope, I'm gonna need that. Give it back to me. So we're gonna do just a little bit more with the Neobab part of the tutorial, which is a strong word, I'm gonna be honest. That's why edges are good. It's so easy to accidentally teleport in lava. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna point out about Neobab is that because of the thing I mentioned before, where I said that it's really uncommon to be telefragged in Neobab, it is a genuinely legitimate strategy to YOLO port. Like, you can do it. It works out more often than you would think. Although, don't teleport into the bedrock. There you go. Neobab in 12 seconds, right? It's as silly as it is a viable strategy to YOLO port in Neobab, and if you're on a bad run, I think there's no shame in doing that. Tiamat. I don't have much to say about Tiamat, but I do have one thing to say. Don't jump. It is extremely understandable why people do this, but people frequently like to jump and then teleport into Tiamat. Don't do that. There is a reason why you don't want to do that. When you do a max distance teleport from the ground, you cannot teleport above Tiamat as far as I understand. Like, I can just count tiles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is your max distance, and you're going to hit Tiamat if that happens. If you jump, now you're teleporting to the 9th tile, which is above Tiamat. That's an awful place to be, because not only did you miss, but you're going to trigger her yell, right? And then you need to fall down and get out of the way, and she can knock the teleporter out of your hands, even if she doesn't just kill you outright. So do not jump. Just teleport here. If you miss, you'll land, and then you can teleport again. It's that easy. Just stand here, keep teleporting until she dies. You'll be fine. Just don't jump. Now, I am going to show off Sunken City because I think I might as well, right? Like, why shove it into some other video? Now, when it comes to Sunken City, the way I do it is 2 teleports and then 4 teleports. You might be thinking, what? There's only 3 teleport charges, you're insane. The thing is, if you teleport without jumping, you don't expend a charge. So you can teleport 4 times to get up here. Then you just do a standard kill and skip with the teleport at the end. And you're pretty much set to go. You can attempt a YOLOport strategy if you are stupid and insane and don't have a sense of self-preservation. It really doesn't work out that often, but you can do it. I'm just gonna do Neobab again because I'm lazy. And to show off that it's not as scary as people tend to imagine. Would have been really funny if I died though. So yeah, you can try and teleport up. I almost made it, but it's just not a good idea. So that's all there is for Neobab and Tiamat. Now we're gonna head to Sunken City. Sunken City scares people really badly, and I understand why. In Sunken City, everything is flipped on its head. You're no longer teleporting down. Now, instead, you're teleporting up. And that can be very intimidating. As well, Sunken City reintroduces arrow traps, and not just arrow traps, poison arrow traps. Horrifying, I know. But I'm here to tell you, Sunken City is not as bad as you think. It's a lot like Neobab, and a lot like Volcana. Because in Sunken City, one of the best places to stand is on your edges. Lots of Sunken City subrooms tend to put most of their stuff in the center. If you think of any tube subroom, that's kind of the case, right? So in Sunken City, it's good to stay on your edges. Look, I'm at the top of the level. I didn't even have to freaking move. Now I got unlucky here, so I have to go over here, but you kind of get the idea, right? Now, although edges are generally safe, there are some subrooms that you need to look out for. This vertical tube subroom is a really good example. On the right edge here, you can see that there actually is a pretty dangerous teleport. So you don't want to just blindly teleport through the levels if you can avoid it. However, on the opening of the tube, you have 2 columns that are both always safe. You will never die teleporting in these 2 columns. You can do that though. So it's important to remember that that particular vertical tube subroom is pretty commonly unsafe. So don't let it get to you. Now, the horizontal tube subroom can be a little intimidating as well. Let's say you're over here, right? This situation looks impassable in a lot of ways to players who are not experienced with teleporters. However, if you do this, you're fine. The +3 rule really comes in handy when dealing with this horizontal tube subroom, because you can just teleport up into this area by teleporting at the middle part or higher, right? So you can always do that if you're on the wrong side of a horizontal tube subroom and need to get your way across. It comes up a lot. This is a really good thing to do. Don't be afraid to do it. I highly recommend it. Very, very good. So you can see there that I had to adjust myself for the vertical tube because I saw that it was there and realized, okay, my edge is not safe anymore. Right there, I can just move over a little bit and I'm fine. But, you know, case by case, don't just follow one rule. Yeah, don't get into that area. That's not a good idea. That was a risky teleport. Just decided to go with it. Now, you might have noticed that I've said nothing about poison arrow traps. That sounds weird, right? I made such a big deal out of the dwelling arrow traps, and now I've said nothing about poison arrow traps. There is a reason for that, and it's one that is not necessarily intuitive at first. One thing that you need to keep in mind about the difference between Dwelling and Sunken City is that Sunken City is going up. I know, I already said that. Am I some sort of delusional freak? Yes, but not for this reason. The thing about teleporting up instead of teleporting down is that you are frequently going to teleport directly on the ground. You're not gonna fall, you're not gonna move anywhere, you are immediately stationary. And a stationary player is really unlikely to trigger an arrow trap that they did not see, right? Like, it's just so unlikely for you to do a teleport into an arrow trap that wasn't visible, unless you're playing super aggressive. If you're playing insanely aggressive, yes, Sunken City arrow traps can cause problems for you. But beyond playing super aggro, it's just not likely to happen. Like, that's one situation where, yeah, it could have potentially gotten me. But it was only a 1 in 5, right? And even the 1 in 5 might not have done anything to me. So honestly, don't worry about Sunken City arrow traps. It's just not that big of a deal. They're really not that harmful. You can see there that I adjusted my positioning because I saw the layout of the tube. I knew which side that the opening was on. Because remember, the entry point is the thick side, and then the exit point is the open side. So when you see a vertical tube in that particular subroom, look for the opening and then teleport on the other part of that subroom. That's how you can identify where it's safe. I'm just gonna take a risky teleport out of here. If it's bad, I'll just reset. Really, when you get a bad teleport in Sunken City, there's not a lot that you can do. If you need to play safe, just play safe. Generally speaking, like, it's not worth it to force risky teleports in Sunken City. You're this late into a run, it's probably just worth finishing it out. So again, right here I can see the entrance to the tube, just barely a sliver of it right there. And I can also just tell because of the overhangs position that this is that subroom. So I'm just gonna go here and teleport. And remember, one thing to keep in mind, skull tiles are your friend. They're not gonna kill you. If you teleport into a skull tile, you are safe. You shouldn't, don't do it, but you can. You have the option to if you wanna be really clever and quirky about how you handle a certain Sunken City level, right? Like if it's really bad, you have the option. Yeah, that's really tragic. I had to teleport out of there, but there was a poison arrow trap. What a bummer. All right, let's do one more Sunken City run through, and then I am going to go to Hundun, where we're going to discuss that telefragging Hundun is not scary. I know, it's unbelievable. How could he say that? What a criminal. Oh, also, just a heads up. Just so you know, do not telefrag orange frogs. Biggest threat in Sunken City by a landslide. You think it's the arrow trap? No, it's the freaking orange frog. If there's one thing that kills me more than anything else, it's those stupid freaking orange frogs, man. They just sneak up on you and now you're dead. Congrats. I keep dropping my teleporter because of the egg sacks. Not nice. All right. Hundun. If you have bombs, just use bombs. Get on the floor. Do bomb stuff. If you don't have bombs, then you can telefrag Hundun. One thing I'm going to recommend to you, if you are doing Hundun with the teleporter, is to scout your level. You have a lot of time to just check the level. Guess what? I just discovered that this column is literally 100% safe. So I'm going to use this column when the fight ends to teleport up. Now, when it comes to telefragging Hundun, the actual process of telefragging is not difficult. you have, I believe, a 3 in 5 chance of killing Hundun with each teleport, because I think Hundun is 3 tiles of available telefrag space. I might be wrong, it might be 2, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. The biggest thing that you need to pay attention to when you are attempting to telefrag Hundun is the space that you have been given. I am currently on a level that is very, very good for telefragging Hundun. I have a wide horizontal space and the chicken head is about to hatch. That means that I can easily get several telefrag attempts in before it rises up to the next subroom. Now, looking at the level ahead, it looks like the snakehead is going to spawn in the subroom above me, so I'm going to move this over to the spot that is more open. This being Hundun, of course, and clear some stuff out. Now, you can also do vertical teleports to kill Hundun, but they're way less likely to work out. You can see that I got myself killed there by overshooting. I would always recommend doing horizontal teleports to kill Hundun if you can. If the situation doesn't really allow it, then you may just have to play it safe and wait things out until the telefrag opportunity is more present. So we're gonna make our way back. I think Hundun is particularly good to get multiple examples of because the scouting idea is a pretty unique one to that boss fight. Okay, we're back again. So we're gonna start scouting. Looks like we have a bit of a bad layout here. We do have a good column though. But as you can see, this layout is a little bit claustrophobic. I want Hundun to move over to the right here, and then we're gonna move back left afterwards. I'm going to attempt to force horizontal teleports here just to show off that you're way better off doing them. Okay, that was, I'm gonna be real with you, that was very unlucky. It happens. You're never gonna get a perfect Hundun every single time, right? Sometimes you are just gonna lose to Hundun. It's a bummer, but you know, the better you play, the better off you'll be. This is a risky strat. You can still usually just bomb Hundun as long as you get any bombs along the way. But I'm not gonna tell you how to do floor strats. That's not the point. The point is to teach you how to use the teleporter. So yeah, I might die again. Like, you know, awkward, right? The tutorial guy's dying. But like I said at the start, I think it would be disingenuous to show you only successful attempts. There are many Hundun fights that just go wrong, and it sucks, and I want to cry for both myself and you. But, you know, that's just how it goes. Once again, found a save column. Pretty good to know. However, this is one of the worst Hundun arenas that you could get. It's extremely vertical. There's not much you can do about it. I have to do downward teleports. What you should do if you're downward teleporting is make sure that your max distance is a telefrag. You never want to go under Hundun. I just broke the rule of the example I was trying to make, which in my defense, this is really freaking bad. Yeah, wow, okay. Unlucky gaming. You hate to see it, but also you love to see it because it's a good example. Showing off the exact array of like good versus bad opportunities for the Hundun fight. Wow, this is a nasty layout. I promise, I'll kill it. Hundun's gonna die. At this point, it's personal. All right, Hundun, you and me, we got a date with hell. Okay, so this column isn't safe. Is there a safer column? Looks like right here is probably better. It's not totally safe, but this one should be. Yeah. And now, because I checked that column, I knew that it was safe to teleport up repeatedly, and I can immediately get myself to the exit. I can't really tell you too much more about Hundun. I've showed you all the ways that telefragging is best practice. You want to do horizontal. If you have to do vertical, make sure that you're max distancing. Otherwise, you're going to get screwed. Ultimately, best way to do Hundun, just bring bombs. The one thing I didn't mention on this tutorial is that if you do get the Ankh from Olmec, after killing Hundun, you can just die and the Ankh will teleport you to the exit. That's a safe strat. I recommend it if you're not used to Sunken City. The fastest method is to just do what I did, which is find a safe column and teleport straight up. You don't want to waste time grabbing the Ankh if you don't need to, but it's a very good safe strat and it will save you some time on Hundun if you manage to keep it all the way there. So hopefully this whole hour-long rant on teleporter play, I did not realize this was an hour, is helpful to people. I'll obviously timestamp everything if you don't care to know about certain parts of the run. I might make tutorials in the future on other categories and how they operate as well. But teleporter runs are something I'm known for, something I'm asked about a lot, and this kind of covers just about as much as I can within the scope of a single video. And I tried to keep it mostly to straightforward, logical rules of sorts, rather than sort of, you know, personal ways of how I play or how I think you could play. So hopefully it was helpful. If it wasn't, sorry. I'm gonna stop recording so that the video doesn't actually hit an hour long, because that would be embarrassing. It's a 1 minute run. This is a 1 hour video. Oh God.